everybody, welcome to the At Home Studio of Belfast Academy of Realist Art. This exercise is a really lovely introductory exercise for watercolour. The subject is a banana. Now when you're looking for a banana in the shops, don't try and find one which is really perfect. You want one that's got some markings on it. And just while I'm holding the banana in this position, notice how this way it looks a bit like a duck, and this way it looks a little bit like a dolphin. So if your drawing starts to look like a dolphin or a duck, you're not to worry about it. So this is what your exercise will look like when you've finished. You'll be drawing the bananas 3 times, one beneath the other. The paints you're going to be using are cadmium yellow, lemon yellow, yellow ochre, French ultramarine, and burnt umber and sap green. If you want to make the exercise more difficult for yourself, then you could consider doing a bunch of bananas, a full tonal drawing underneath before practicing putting the layers of colour on top. So if you're right-handed, put your palette and your water jars on the right. If you're left-handed, put them on the left. And place your banana on a piece of plain white paper directly in front of you. Decide which angle gives you some markings. You don't want it to be plain. And then move your lamp to give you different shadows. I'm using brush sizes 4, 6 and 10 because that's what I have. Any sizes within that range are fine, but every manufacturer numbers their brushes differently, so I'm showing you these in relation to a pencil. Please don't use any brush bigger than this one, it'll hold too much water. When you're doing the shading, for these light areas I'm using a 2H, just very gently skimming across the surface, using short strokes. Don't try and go from one side of the banana to the other. Just keep the shading gentle and close together. And notice how the light is lightest on the top where it's near your lamp, and then after the bend in the banana it's a slightly darker area. And so I'm changing to an F or an HB to use on that shaded area. Keep going with small strokes in all directions without pressing heavily. But you don't want to press heavily because you'll flatten the groove of the paper, which we don't want to do. It's important to notice about shadows. This is not an outline around the banana, so you really need to resist doing a thick edge. What this is the shadow of where it's sitting on the piece of paper. As a rule of thumb, the shadow is darkest where it meets the object and is lighter as it goes further away. Make sure you don't have a very dark edge on the outside of your shadow. It just gently stops existing. So now I've completed the drawings. The first one is graphite pencil fully toned, and the second 2 are line only, although I have drawn indications of where the different tones are so that it acts as a guide when I'm putting the paint on. It's the one banana drawn 3 times, and it took me just under an hour. So now it's time to set that aside and we're going to practice mixing our paint. The main ingredient for watercolour painting is the water. So always start with some water on a clean area of your palette and wipe the excess liquid off, and then go to one of your pigments and stir it into the little pool you've made. Wipe the excess off on the jar and then do a little tile on your page. Then we're going to add some more of that colour just to the edge of the pool, wipe the excess and do another one, and we'll go in with even more pigment until we see just how dark we can get it. That seems to be about full value for that. This is lemon yellow. And we're going to clean the brush and do the same again with cadmium yellow. A new pool of water, And cadmium yellow looks much more orange. The first one was lemon yellow. This is cadmium yellow. Wipe the excess off on the jar. Much stronger pigment right from the offset. I'll add a little bit more pigment and make another tile. Try to make these tiles tidy. It helps you learn to have brush control. And now I'm just going to dip into the water and break the surface of the water and wipe the excess, which gives me a lighter tile. I'm just going to keep doing that until I run out of pigment. This is just to show you how much variation there is in tone just from using one colour and different amounts of water. Now neither of those are particularly exact for your banana colour, so we're going to mix them together. Lots of lemon yellow, which is the lighter one, and a little bit of cadmium yellow. I'm going to stirring a little bit more water in to make my pool bigger, because we want to have enough to cover the whole banana without running out of pigment. I'm doing lots of lemon yellow to that. Lemon yellow is a very weak pigment, so you need plenty of it. And I'll just take a little bit of that cadmium there, a little bit more from here, and really stir it in. Wipe the excess liquid off. And there's a combination of lemon yellow and cadmium yellow, and that is banana-ish enough for me to do my first layer. So before you start painting, just use some kitchen roll to clean the top of your jar. Never use kitchen roll on your brushes, please. To clean your brush, you just use the water. We're going to paint the first two bananas simultaneously, but we're not going to touch the third banana for now. I'm using my medium-sized brush, really loading up the brush with plenty of liquid and going straight to the top banana. Now my hand is on the page. Make sure you don't paint with your hand in the air. And I'm painting everything which is banana, no matter what colour it is. I'm not painting the shadow on the paper, only the banana. So you need to treat it as if it was a big blob or a stain that you want to spread. So I'm setting it on and pulling it across nice and quickly. So carefully at the edge of my pencil, at the edge of the banana, and then quickly in the middle, and keep loading up. And it's a forward moving journey. If you get this far and notice something over there that you missed, you must leave it and we'll go back to it in the next layer. Quickly in the middle, carefully around the outside. You're only using the top of the brush. Don't press the brush down or nothing will come out. Use the tip of it and gravity will release the water as you paint. Carefully at the edges, quickly on the inside. We move quickly so that it's all wet at the same time. We don't want it to dry in one area more quickly than any other area. Just about enough paint. I used just about all of that paint and I need to make more to do on the second banana. Now this is a different colour, so that I don't use it by mistake, I'm going to wipe it off. So I'm making a new pool for the second banana, which was mostly lemon yellow, lots and lots of lemon yellow, and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Wipe the excess off, and I'm just going to do a little tile to see how that looks. It's too greenish, so it needs more of the cadmium yellow mixed in. Lemon yellow can very easily go greenish. That's close enough for now. This is our first layer, and the point of it really is to get our lightest light everywhere and to get rid of the white paper. Load it up and go in again. Moving it while it's wet, nice and quickly, not going over a bit. If you've just done it, you're moving forward. Carefully around the outside. Hand leaning on the page, which gives you a really comforting anchor, and quickly down the middle. Reload regularly, don't paint until you're running out. of water on the brush because it'll be drying too quickly. You're needing to introduce stained water very quickly. Now I've just gone over the edge by mistake. So I take my tissue and just dry it off, but working swiftly so that the whole thing remains wet at the same time. There. I was holding my breath at the edge there, I noticed. And if you can see that in this area here, it looks quite spotty, and here as well, whereas it's not spotty there. That area is sunk into the paper more quickly and is drying, and it may well leave a slightly hard edge of yellow there because this has had more liquid in it, but we'll see how it dries. The important thing is to let it dry. Don't go poking with it while it's still damp. Now that I've done that one, this one looks pretty dry already, and I'm happy enough with that as a first layer colour. Now my job is to look for the next darkest thing. From my banana, the next darkest area is in the stalk, and I'm going to use yellow ochre for that. Taking a little bit of yellow ochre to a separate area. We never work from the paint straight to the page. We take the paint to a little pool on the palette, then do a little tile to test the colour. I'm going to wipe the excess off. That looks fine. A little bit more of it. Okay, and I'm going to put that where I can see it's slightly darker on the first banana. The first layer we did was called a wash, and you're very swift. After the first layer, you need to think as if you're drawing. So you're going to be much more careful, and you're not going to put layers everywhere. You're just setting it down where you observe things to be a little bit darker than your first layer. The nice thing about this is that watercolour is transparent, so you're always going to be able to see through to the colour that's underneath. I can see some slight darker area there. So I don't want you to worry about exactly what colour the next tone is. You're going to use yellow ochre with plenty of water in it, so it's not very dark, and you're going to draw it on. Hopefully you can see the difference this layer is making already to this. Don't paint till you run out. Keep loading up. And now everything I did on the first banana, I'm doing it again on the second banana, just where the tone is slightly darker. The edge of the line is a little bit hard, so I've just got water on the brush and nothing else. Just going over the edge of it just to soften it, but you need to keep moving swiftly. Don't worry about it. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's too wet, and you can just leave it to dry. Don't work slowly. The next colour I'm going to add is the green. I've got some little green areas at the top of the stalk and little bits of it on the shadow area at the back of the banana. So I'm taking some sap green and I'm going to stir it in with the yellow ochre from before. Do a little tile. Yellow ochre is the mustard colour. And then just painting as if I was drawing. Just wherever you see the green areas on your banana. And if it feels too watery, wipe the excess off on the edge of your jar or onto your hand. Everything you do to the first banana, you do to the second banana. The third and final banana is a different technique again. These were dry glazes, and this was a dry glaze on top of a graphite drawing. So the result looks quite different because this one has a graphite drawing underneath it. This one we're going to do wet on wet. We're going to slather water over the whole of your drawing area, including the shadow, but without going over the edges of your line. And then you're going to set an alarm for 2 minutes, and you've got to do all of that you did there on here in 2 minutes while it's wet. It's a bit scary, but it's very exciting. finished, just wash your brushes in the water and leave them flat on the table to dry. The last banana is very watery. It's taken about 10 minutes to dry, and if you're not happy with your own, when it's completely bone dry, you can go back in and put another layer on top. But if you can resist the temptation to work more on it, you have a good record of 3 different approaches to watercolour. Well done, and I hope you enjoyed it.